Imagine, if you will, a bustling metropolis where the citizens are neurons, scurrying about their daily business of firing signals and forming connections. This neural city, also known as your brain, is a marvel of biological engineering. But what if we told you that this city might be operating under some seriously weird rules? Rules that make Inception look like a straightforward rom-com. Enter quantum brain dynamics, or QBD for short. It's the theory that suggests our neural citizens might be governed by the mind-bending laws of quantum mechanics. Now, before you start picturing tiny Ant-Man-style neurons surfing quantum waves, let's take a step back. Classical neuroscience has done a bang-up job explaining a lot about how our brains work. It's given us the neural equivalent of traffic laws, zoning regulations, and public transportation systems. But there are still some pretty big potholes in our understanding. For instance, how does a lump of meat weighing about 3 pounds manage to outperform supercomputers in tasks like decision-making or learning new information? And don't even get us started on consciousness. That's like trying to explain why that one traffic light always turns red just when you're running late. This is where QBD swaggers in, wearing a lab coat and carrying a copy of Quantum Physics for Dummies. It suggests that to truly understand the brain, we need to zoom in way past the cellular level, down to the quantum realm. Here, things get weird. Particles can be in two places at once. Information can travel faster than light, and cats can be both alive and dead. It's like the laws of physics decided to throw a wild party and forgot to invite common sense. Now, imagine these quantum shenanigans happening in your brain. According to QBD, your neurons aren't just firing off electrical signals like some biological telegraph system. Oh no, they're hosting quantum raves where waves of probability dance across your synapses. Enter the Nambu Goldstone bosons, the party planners of this quantum shindig. These subatomic particles are like the world's tiniest, most efficient couriers. In the quantum world of your brain, they're zipping around, carrying messages and organizing information faster than you can say neural network. But here's where it gets really interesting. These quantum couriers might be the key to solving one of neuroscience's biggest mysteries: how we store and retrieve memories. Classical models struggle to explain how we can instantly recall a childhood memory or learn a new skill so quickly. But in the quantum brain, information isn't stored in neat little boxes. It's spread out in a quantum superposition, existing everywhere and nowhere at once. Think of it like this. Instead of rummaging through a filing cabinet to find a specific memory, your quantum brain is simultaneously accessing all memories at once. It's like having a search engine that returns results before you even hit enter. This quantum approach could also explain why our brains are so energy efficient. While our best supercomputers guzzle electricity like there's no tomorrow, your brain runs on about the same amount of power as a dim light bulb. It's as if nature looked at our clunky classical computers and said, "Hold my beer." But before we get too carried away with quantum brain fever, let's remember that this is still a highly controversial theory. Many scientists argue that the brain is too warm, wet, and noisy for delicate quantum effects to survive. They point out that quantum states typically collapse faster than you can say Schrödinger's cat, let alone form a coherent thought. Yet, proponents of QBD argue that the brain might have found ways to protect these quantum states. They suggest that certain structures in neurons could act as quantum resonators, preserving these delicate quantum states long enough to influence our thoughts and behaviors. If true, this could have mind-bending implications for our understanding of consciousness. Some researchers even propose that consciousness itself might be a quantum phenomenon. It's a tantalizing idea that our subjective experience of reality could be rooted in the fundamental fabric of the universe. But let's pump the brakes on this quantum consciousness train for a moment. While it's an exciting prospect, we're still a long way from proving that quantum effects play any significant role in brain function, let alone consciousness. It's like trying to explain why your cat always lands on its feet by invoking string theory. But hey, if quantum mechanics can make sense of the bizarre world of subatomic particles, maybe it can shed some light on the equally bizarre world inside our skulls. So let's dive deeper into this quantum rabbit hole. Imagine your brain as a quantum computer, but instead of cold, sterile circuits, it's running on warm, squishy wetware. This biological quantum computer might be capable of performing calculations that would make even the most advanced silicon-based supercomputers blush. Take decision-making, for instance. Classical models struggle to explain how we can weigh multiple options simultaneously and come to a decision in a split second. But in a quantum brain, it's like you're not just considering each option one at a time. You're exploring all possible outcomes at once, in parallel universes of potential choices. It's less to be or not to be, and more to be and not to be at the same time. Now, before you start feeling like Schrodinger's indecisive cat, let's talk about quantum coherence. This is the idea that quantum states in the brain could somehow remain stable long enough to influence our thoughts and behaviors. Critics argue that the brain is too warm and noisy for these delicate quantum states to survive. It's like expecting a delicate snowflake to maintain its shape in a sauna. But proponents of QBD have a counter-argument. They suggest that certain structures in neurons could act as quantum resonators, preserving these states. Think of it like a flash mob in your brain. Each dancer, or quantum particle, moves in perfect synchronization with the others, creating a coherent whole that's greater than the sum of its parts. And just like a well-coordinated flash mob can survive in the chaos of a busy city street, these quantum states might be able to persist in the hustle and bustle of your neural metropolis. This quantum coherence could potentially explain some of the brain's most mysterious abilities, like how we can instantly recognize a face in a crowd, or how a jazz musician can improvise a complex melody on the fly. It's as if our brains are tapping into a vast quantum database of possibilities, accessing information faster than the speed of classical computation. But here's where it gets really mind-bending. Some researchers propose that this quantum coherence might be the key to understanding consciousness itself. They suggest that our subjective experience of reality, the feeling of being you, might emerge from these quantum processes. It's a bit like saying that the ghost in the machine is actually a quantum ghost, flitting between parallel universes of possibility. Of course, this idea is about as controversial as suggesting pineapple belongs on pizza. Many neuroscientists argue that we don't need to invoke quantum mechanics to explain consciousness. They point out that classical models of brain function are doing a pretty good job of explaining most of what we observe. Adding quantum effects to the mix, they say, is like trying to explain your car's engine problems by invoking string theory. It's unnecessarily complicated and doesn't really solve anything. But here's where things get interesting. Recent research has uncovered some tantalizing evidence that quantum effects might be more than just theoretical musings. A study led by researchers at Howard University has identified a quantum phenomenon in the brain that's raising eyebrows faster than a Vulcan watching a cat video. The star of this quantum show? Tryptophan. Yes, the same stuff that makes you sleepy after Thanksgiving dinner. But in this case, it's not just making you doze off, it's potentially turning your brain into a quantum superhighway. The researchers discovered that when tryptophan molecules are arranged in large symmetrical networks within neurons, they exhibit a quantum property called superradiance. It's like the molecules are forming their own little quantum flash mob, moving in perfect synchronization. This superradiance effect allows the tryptophan networks to efficiently absorb potentially damaging ultraviolet light and re-emit it at safer energy levels. It's as if your brain has its own built-in sunscreen, but instead of just blocking harmful rays, it's converting them into something useful. But wait, there's more! These tryptophan networks might also be acting as quantum fiber optics within neurons. Imagine upgrading your brain's internet from dial-up to quantum fiber. Suddenly, you're processing information at speeds that would make the Flash look like he's running in slow motion. This quantum optical behavior could enable ultra-fast information processing in the brain, potentially hundreds of millions of times faster than classical chemical signaling alone. It's like your neurons have been secretly training for the Quantum Olympics while you thought they were just lounging around watching Netflix. The implications of this discovery are mind-boggling. For one, it could help explain why our brains are so darn good at certain tasks that leave classical computers scratching their silicon heads. Decision-making, adapting to novel situations, coming up with the perfect comeback 5 hours after an argument. These could all be powered by quantum processes. But perhaps even more exciting is the potential impact on our understanding of neurodegenerative diseases. The superradiance effect could serve as a protective mechanism against oxidative stress, which is associated with conditions like Alzheimer's disease. By absorbing and safely dissipating harmful UV radiation, these quantum-enabled tryptophan networks may help preserve neuronal health and function. It's like your brain has its own team of quantum bodyguards, fending off the molecular bad guys that want to mess with your neurons. And unlike your average bodyguard, these quantum protectors don't need to sleep, eat, or take bathroom breaks. Now, before we get too carried away with visions of quantum-powered superbrains, it's important to note that this research is still in its early stages. We're not going to be downloading Kung Fu Skills Matrix style anytime soon, but it does open up some exciting new avenues for research in quantum biology and neuroscience. The survival of these quantum effects in the brain's messy environment is particularly intriguing. It challenges previous assumptions about the viability of quantum processes in biological systems. It's a bit like discovering that your messy teenager's room actually contains a perfectly organized quantum computer hidden under all those dirty socks and pizza boxes. This finding has also caught the attention of quantum technology researchers. If nature has found a way to maintain delicate quantum states in the warm, wet environment of the brain, it could provide valuable insights for making quantum information systems more resilient. It's as if the brain has been quietly solving some of the biggest challenges in quantum computing, while we've been busy trying to figure out why we always lose socks in the laundry. But before we start planning our quantum-powered brain upgrades, let's take a moment to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Or should we say, the Schrodinger's cat in the box. The skeptics in the scientific community aren't exactly rolling out the red carpet for quantum brain theories. They're more like bouncers at an exclusive club, eyeing these ideas with raised eyebrows and crossed arms. Their main beef? The decoherence problem. Imagine trying to conduct a delicate quantum experiment in the middle of a busy coffee shop during the morning rush. That's essentially what quantum processes would be up against in the brain. It's warm, it's wet, and it's noisier than a toddler's birthday party. According to calculations by physicist Max Tegmark, quantum coherence in the brain would last about as long as it takes you to say quantum coherence. We're talking sub-picosecond timescales here. Then there's the scale mismatch. It's like trying to explain rush hour traffic patterns by studying the quantum behavior of the rubber molecules in car tires. Quantum effects typically play out on scales smaller than atoms, while neural processes involve millions of cells. Bridging this gap is about as easy as building a working TARDIS out of Lego bricks. But the proponents of quantum brain dynamics aren't throwing in the towel just yet. They're more like the plucky underdogs in a sports movie, determined to prove the naysayers wrong. They argue that recent discoveries, like the quantum behavior of tryptophan networks, suggest that the brain might have found clever ways to protect and utilize quantum effects. It's as if nature looked at our clumsy attempts to build quantum computers and said, "Hold my neurotransmitters." While we're struggling to maintain quantum states for more than a fraction of a second in carefully controlled laboratory conditions, our brains might be running quantum processes 24/7 without breaking a sweat. The debate rages on, creating what we might call a quantum quandary in the scientific community. On one side, we have the classical neuroscientists, armed with decades of research and a healthy dose of skepticism. On the other, the quantum brain theorists, brandishing their equations and a vision of the brain as a biological quantum computer. It's like watching a high-stakes chess match, but instead of chess pieces, they're moving subatomic particles, and instead of a chessboard, they're playing on a Mobius strip in the dark while riding a roller coaster. But here's where things get really interesting. Even as the debate continues, researchers are starting to explore potential applications of these quantum brain theories. Some are looking at how understanding quantum processes in the brain could lead to new treatments for neurodegenerative diseases. It's as if we've stumbled upon a quantum fountain of youth for neurons. Others are eyeing the potential for quantum-inspired computing algorithms. If the brain really is performing quantum computations, understanding how it does so could revolutionize artificial intelligence. We might finally be able to create computers that can match the brain's remarkable ability to adapt and learn. It's like trying to reverse engineer nature's most sophisticated quantum device, only to find out it's been running on organic hardware all along. But perhaps the most exciting potential application lies in the realm of consciousness itself. If quantum processes really do underpin our subjective experience, could we one day develop technologies that enhance or even transfer consciousness? It's a prospect that's both thrilling and terrifying, like discovering you can upgrade your consciousness the same way you upgrade your smartphone. Imagine a future where we can boost our cognitive abilities by fine-tuning the quantum processes in our brains. Need to learn a new language? Just dial up your quantum coherence. Want to improve your memory? Adjust your tryptophan networks. It's like having a control panel for your consciousness, only instead of buttons and switches, it's operated by probability waves and quantum entanglement. Of course, we're still a long way from anything like that. Right now, we're at the stage where we're just starting to peek under the hood of the quantum brain. It's like we've discovered a new continent, but we're still trying to figure out if it's inhabited by friendly quantum creatures or hostile decoherence monsters. But even in these early stages, the potential implications are staggering. If we can harness the protective quantum effects observed in tryptophan networks, we might be able to develop new treatments for neurodegenerative diseases. It's like quantum mechanics coming to the rescue in the fight against brain disorders. So picture this. Nanoscale quantum devices that can detect and correct quantum decoherence in neurons before it leads to cellular damage. It's like having a team of tiny quantum mechanics performing tune-ups on your brain's quantum engine. These quantum healers could potentially slow down or even reverse the progression of diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And let's not forget the potential impact on artificial intelligence. If we can crack the code of how the brain maintains quantum coherence in its warm, wet environment, we might be able to create quantum computers that are more resilient and efficient than anything we've built so far. It's as if nature has been quietly running the world's most advanced quantum computer inside our skulls, and we're only just now starting to decipher its operating system. As we stand on the brink of this quantum neuroscience frontier, it's worth taking a moment to reflect on how far we've come and how far we still have to go. The journey of quantum brain research is a bit like a quantum particle itself, full of uncertainty, but with the tantalizing possibility of suddenly tunneling through to a breakthrough on the other side. We started this exploration with the basic premise of quantum brain dynamics, that the laws of quantum mechanics might play a crucial role in how our brains function. Along the way, we've encountered mind-bending concepts like quantum coherence in neurons, tryptophan networks, acting as biological quantum fiber optics, and the possibility that consciousness itself might be a quantum phenomenon. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. As exciting as these ideas are, they're still largely theoretical. We're in the Wild West phase of quantum neuroscience, where bold hypotheses abound, but hard evidence is still in short supply. It's like we've discovered a new continent, but we're still arguing over whether it's populated by quantum elves or classical gremlins. The recent discovery of quantum effects in tryptophan networks is certainly a step in the right direction. It's like finding a quantum oasis in the classical desert of the brain. But we're still a long way from proving that these effects play a significant role in cognition or consciousness. The challenges ahead are formidable. We need to develop new tools and techniques to observe and measure quantum effects in living brains. We need to bridge the gap between the subatomic world of quantum mechanics and the macroscopic world of neurons and synapses. And perhaps most importantly, we need to find ways to test and falsify quantum brain theories. It's a tall order, but then again, so is the idea of landing on the moon or mapping the human genome. Science has a way of turning today's impossibilities into tomorrow's textbook facts. As we look to the future, the potential applications of quantum neuroscience are both exciting and a little bit scary. Could we one day develop quantum-enhanced brain-computer interfaces? Might we be able to boost our cognitive abilities by fine-tuning the quantum processes in our brains? Could we even find a way to transfer consciousness from one quantum substrate to another? These questions sound like they belong in a science fiction novel. But then again, so did the idea of carrying a supercomputer in your pocket just a few decades ago. The pace of scientific progress has a way of outstripping our wildest imaginations. But before we get carried away with visions of quantum-powered superbrains, it's important to remember that science is a process, not a destination. The journey of quantum neuroscience is likely to be filled with false starts, dead ends, and unexpected discoveries. It's like trying to navigate a quantum maze where the walls keep shifting every time you look at them. As we wrap up this exploration of quantum brain dynamics, it's worth pondering a few key questions. If our brains really are quantum computers, what does that mean for our understanding of free will and consciousness? How might quantum effects in the brain influence our decision-making processes, or our ability to learn and remember? And perhaps most intriguingly, could understanding these quantum processes help us unlock the full potential of the human mind? These are big questions, and we don't have all the answers yet, but that's the beauty of science. It's not about having all the answers, it's about asking the right questions and following the evidence wherever it leads. As we stand on the threshold of this quantum frontier, one thing is clear. The study of the brain is entering a new and exciting phase. Whether or not quantum effects turn out to play a significant role in brain function, the mere act of asking these questions is pushing the boundaries of our understanding. So the next time you find yourself lost in thought, struggling to make a decision, or marveling at the complexity of your own consciousness, take a moment to consider the quantum dance that might be happening inside your head. Your brain might just be the most sophisticated quantum computer in the known universe, running calculations that would make even the most advanced silicon-based machines green with envy. And who knows? Maybe one day we'll look back on this era as the dawn of quantum neuroscience, the moment when we first began to truly understand the quantum nature of thought and consciousness. Until then, we'll keep probing, questioning, and exploring the quantum mysteries of the mind. After all, in the words of the great physicist Richard Feynman, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics. The same might be said for the human brain, but that's not going to stop us from trying.